Hey everybody, it's Party Elite. Welcome back to our Wetlands Pack DLC showcase for Planet Zoo. I am very excited for today's episode, as not only are we adding an extremely adorable animal, but we're actually tapping into a story to inspire our enclosure that is very familiar to me from my childhood. There's a bit of nostalgia here today. It's kind of funny because I knew of these stories when I was very young. I was but a boy, so it was kind of funny coming across them during my research and sort of having a hey, wait a second moment where I go, I know this story. So there's a bit of nostalgia, and I'm excited to share the story, especially so as a result, because it's just a little bit more personal than usual this time around. But I do hope you enjoy it as we dive into creating this enclosure. So first things first, when I was looking for interesting tales and folklore and mythologies having to do with the Asian otter, I came across a lot of Japanese folk tales, again involving the mischievous otter transforming into gorgeous women and tricking men into their doom. Now, I like those stories. I find them quite interesting and fascinating. However, we had just done a Japanese-themed enclosure with the crane, and I thought, let's not do a repeat. Let's switch it up and find something a little different. So I came across the use of the otter in Tibetan Buddhist imagery. They are used in part to represent balance. And I was like, all right, well, this is cool. Let's dig a bit deeper and let's find some more maybe Buddhist imagery. And one thing led to another, and I came across the Jataka tales. Now, I have known about the Jataka tales since I was a child. This is where the nostalgia aspect kicks in. So for me, it was like, oh, hang on a second. I haven't thought about these in a very long time. You may or may not be familiar with the Jataka tales. They are sometimes referred to as the Jataka stories, but I do believe the official English translation is the Jataka tales. They are a collection of over 500, I believe about 550 morality stories, all of different lengths, told by the Buddha as sort of him recounting tales from his various past incarnations on the long road to enlightenment. So, just a couple things to clarify over here. When I say the Buddha, I'm talking about Siddhartha. You may be familiar with Siddhartha, but by and large, I feel like the more common imagery of Buddha is the laughing Buddha, the more rotund fella, big smile. Normally, he's got like a sack he's carrying as well. He is the more typical, like I think for a lot of people when they think about Buddha, they think about the laughing Buddha, whereas the OG Buddha is actually Siddhartha. Now, the laughing Buddha is based off of a Chinese monk from like thousands of years after Siddhartha, who was an Indian prince who gave up his worldly goods and went out to seek enlightenment. So when I say the Buddha, I'm talking about Siddhartha. And if you're curious about that, then you can look up, laughing Buddha versus Buddha, and you'll find some results, and you can do a bit more digging there. But I digress. So, Siddhartha Buddha is regaling these tales from his past incarnations, I said. To clarify what I mean by that, I mean he's telling stories from multiple lifetimes. In some of these stories, he is a different human being. In other stories, he's not a human being at all. In fact, I believe in some stories he's an elephant. So these are his past reincarnations. If you're familiar with reincarnation, it is very much that. These are his past reincarnations where he has seen multiple lifetimes worth of wisdom, and he is now sharing them. So the premise of these morality stories are rather interesting because the idea is that, again, there are multiple lifetimes worth of wisdom. I have many a favorite, but I will start with the one that inspires this enclosure, and if I have time, I'll tell you some of my other favorites. And if you're curious to see more or to read more of these Jataka tales, if you like things like Aesop's fables, I think you'll find them quite interesting. Just look up the Jataka tales. You can find quite a few of them online. That's Jataka, and then tales as in, stories. But right, so the one that inspires this enclosure, I, funnily enough, forget the name of, but it's about 2 otters and 2 wolves. And you'll see me build some, or put down some sculptures and stuff that represent these guys. So, as the story goes, there's a she-wolf who one day is craving fish, but unfortunately she's, I think, feeling unwell or something, that she's unable to go for the hunt herself. So her mate offers to bring fish for her instead. So he makes his way down, to the nearby river, thinking, well, I don't know how to fish, but I'm gonna get her some fish. But as he approaches this river, he overhears two otters. Now, these two otters are also out on the hunt, and one has spotted a large fish in the river. So he dives in, he grabs the fish, but it's such a big fish that he's not able to catch it himself. So he yells at his friend, his other otter buddy, and he says, "Hey, come in here, help me catch this fish. It's big enough for the both of us." And so his buddy dives in and helps him catch the fish. They finally catch the fish, they come out of the water, and then the wolf overhears an argument between them. One of the otters says, "Cool, I want the half with the head." And the other otter says, "No, I get the half with the head." And so they bicker and go back and forth with regards to who gets the half with the head. They both want it. And the wolf sees his opportunity and he steps in and he's like, "What's going on here?" And the otters tell the wolf, it's like, we hunted this fish together and now we're trying to figure out who gets which half. And so the wolf, offers to sort of help them out and solve the situation. The otters go, "Yeah, it's a third party. Sure, he'll be unbiased." And so the wolf cuts the head off of the fish and gives it to one otter and says, "You helped catch the fish by its head, so you get the head." And then he cut off the tail, and then he said to the other otter, "You helped catch the fish by its tail, and so you get the tail." And both otters are like, "Okay, that makes sense." And they were curious, who gets the juicy middle section? How does that get split? Before they could do anything, the wolf picks up the middle and runs off back to his mate. And so again, the otters, because of their greed, weren't able to. Well, they lost everything basically. They got the head and the tail, but not the juicy meat. And as the wolf returns to his mate, she asks, "How did you manage to catch a fish?" And the wolf, explains that he took it as payment to help settle a dispute. So take from that what you will about greed, sharing, being witty, not being outwitted. They're all stories like this, and I find them quite fascinating. There's one about a golden mallard who used to donate his golden feathers to an impoverished family until one day the mother decided, why should we take them one at a time? We should just pluck all the feathers. And when she plucked them all by force, they became regular feathers. Actually, they became crane-like feathers, specifically, if memory serves me right, and the mallard stopped growing golden feathers entirely. There's another story where a carpenter is being bothered by a mosquito on his head, and he yells at his son to help get rid of it. And so his son does, except he uses the carpenter's axe to do so, taking the mosquito and father at the same time. And the Buddha, who's there, not as Siddhartha, but as a different incarnation, watching this go down, he basically says, with friends like these, who needs enemies? And he says it much more nicely, and the implication is that it's better to have enemies who are smart and would rather not hurt a human being for fear of vengeance than it is to have dumb friends. There's some really great stories. The Jataka Tales, I suggest you check them out if you find this kind of stuff interesting. I want to also point out, by the way, the inclusion of the fig tree, the Bodhi tree under which the Buddha sat to attain enlightenment, is in a couple of spots in this enclosure. But folks, that's all the time we have today. We're about to head back into regular speed. All right, folks, we are back from the time lapse, and I gotta say, I am once again quite pleased with the end results. This has been good so far. We've got a lot of again, I said this I think last session as well when we built the space out. I'm gonna say it again this session, but I feel like I'm regaining my momentum a lot more quickly than I'd anticipated after the long break, so that feels very good for me personally, at least. I hope you've been enjoying this mini-series. I hope you've been enjoying these spaces we've been creating and these stories that I've been sharing as well. Again, if you have been enjoying it all, folks, please don't hesitate to leave a like and a comment down below. I say it all the time. It makes a very big difference. Just letting me know what y'all are enjoying on the channel, and if you are enjoying the return of Planet Zoo on the channel, that's a great way to let me know. And again, I do read all the comments as well, so if you have any thoughts or opinions or anything like that, feel free to share them down below. I do see your requests for animals as well. I'm still looking for an idea for the capybara. I'm still looking for... I've received some suggestions, but I'm looking for something concrete that I can recreate and be inspired by. That's been an interesting twist, because the capybara was going to be the first animal that we added. You might remember if you saw our platypus episode, but you know, one thing led to another. I came across some other stories for some of these other animals, and they became my focus, at least for now. And then eventually we will, of course, get all these animals in as we expand into these vast open spaces over here. There's plenty of room to add the other animals, and there are some, at least, that require a fair bit more space, if I'm not mistaken, in this DLC. At least one that I'm thinking of. But folks, that's all conversation for the future. Again, if you have any preferences as to which animal you'd like to see next, let me know down below. I am, of course, again, I am going to be adding all the animals from the DLC to the zoo. So, you know, everything's eventually, you know, going to get added. But in terms of the preference for an order of things getting added, just let me know in the comments down below, and I will, you know, keep that all in mind. Of course, a big part of it depends on when I find a story, when I feel particularly inspired about a particular animal or their space as well. That all makes a very big difference too. But I do try to let the comments dictate my decision making as much as possible when it makes sense. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the Zoopedia entry over here. Let's take a look at some of the fun facts, some of the details, and let's actually get these animals in here and see how they like the space, and hopefully we'll get some baby cranes as well. The red-crowned crane. I keep forgetting, or not forgetting, but like misremembering, I guess, that it's crowned. Every time I go for like the crane, I go like the red skull, the red head, the red. I keep forgetting it's crowned. Eventually, it'll stick in my mind. But again, I'd never heard of that, of the red-crowned crane, until this DLC, so I'm completely unfamiliar with it. But yes, we'll hopefully see a red-crowned crane baby today as well. But no, our focus today is on the Asian small-clawed otter. Utterly adorable. One might say. The Asian small-clawed otter is the second otter to be added into Planet Zoo. Of course, there was a giant otter previously. I did have to use some giant otter decorative elements because okay, you'll see if I come in over here. This is the giant otter, so it is a different otter. I believe it's quite different in like shape and size and just like physiology and stuff. But I didn't really have an option, because if I take a look at the construction section over here, if we go to the otters, you'll see that all we have for the small-clawed otter is this thing, which it's adorable. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely adorable. But that's all we have. We don't really have any like sculptures or anything like that. And I do believe the aquatic, like the what giant otter is it called? The giant otter is quite physiologically different from the small-clawed otter. You can, I mean, visually you can see some, but this might actually be just a baby. I'm not 100% sure. Again, not my area of expertise, but I just want to let y'all know that these decorative elements are for the giant otter, not technically the otter that's going in here, but I didn't really have a choice there for the imagery and the story that I wanted to tell. And of course, you may or may not be able to tell, but this is also not an otter, but does the trick. This buddy over there and buddy over here. Really nice sculptures. This is actually more recent of an addition to the game. Not from this latest patch, but relatively more recent compared to that first one over there. Anyway, let's stay on task here, shall we? The Asian small-clawed otter, Aeonyx cinereus is its scientific name. They are vulnerable, and population in wild is just 5,000. You know, does anybody else feel this way when you read some of these numbers? You just go, what? just what? There's no other, like, nothing else comes to mind. Oh my god, what are the chances? I just noticed we've paused on the 3rd of March, year 33. That's the 3rd day of the 3rd month of the 33rd year. That's pretty cool. Sorry, okay. That kind of stuff, just I love it. Right, so sometimes I just look at these numbers and it's beyond comprehension. It's like, how can it be so low? For something with, I think that has a pretty decent range. Anyway, so native to the rivers and streams of Central and Southeast Asia, the Asian small-clawed otter, or Aeonyx cinereus, is the smallest otter species in the world. Its sleek body is covered in brown fur with a white belly and throat. Oh, I was expecting more to that sentence. Asian small-clawed otters grow between 29 inches and 38 inches in total body length and weigh 5.9 pounds to 11.9 pounds. There are no notable physical differences between females and males of this species. The Asian small-clawed otter is considered a vulnerable species and as such is protected in most countries of its native range. Like many threatened species, they suffer from habitat loss and poaching. There are several captive breeding programs in place which facilitate conservation and research on this species. If we take a look at its natural habitat, it is pretty widespread, and what's actually pretty interesting to me is, okay, well now I'm extra glad I went with the stories I went with. So there are a lot of folk tales about the otter. And I'm hoping I'm not like retreading ground that I mentioned during the time lapse here, but in case I wasn't able to mention during the time lapse, I'll mention it now. So there's folklore around the world about the otter. I believe we know that there's like Native American folklore. We know that there is, and sorry, I point up here, but I should really be doing this, Native American folklore. There is, I believe there's some otter-related folklore in the Middle East as well. I might be a bit mistaken there. But I know that otters did make it to the Middle East at some point in history, and I forget if there is any mythology attached to it as well. There are Chinese stories, there are Japanese stories, I believe there are Korean stories. There are the stories that we shared today. So they're all over the place. And some of the earliest stories that I came across were actually Japanese stories. But I thought, well, we just did the crane. So let's step away from Japan for the next story. And so instead I went with the the Buddhists, like the Jetaka tales, right? And I'm glad I did that because that's more relevant to some of these regions. Now, it's rather, I should say, it's less directly relevant to Japan, which turns out these guys aren't even in. So I guess it's a different species of otter in Japan, and I will need to look that up. But yeah, I'm glad I went with the story I went with because that's definitely doing a Japan themed story would have been wrong, and that's much to my surprise. Either way, I'm pretty sure we have more than enough space for. I imagine you can fit quite a few otters in one enclosure, but I do believe this is large enough, and we should be fine in terms of all of our requirements here. Ooh, hold on. Aquatic, tropical, grassland. Yeah, okay, we're fine. We're fine. Species data. Group size, excluding juveniles, is 2 to 16. So, yep, we can go up to 15 males, up to 15 females. As predicted or as expected, they can be quite large in a group. Male bachelor group size is 2 to 16. Female bachelor group size is 2 to 6. Oh, interesting. That's one thing to note is that they're evidently not solitary. Dominance is a dominant mated pair within family group. Mating system is monogamous. Relation with humans is neutral. And guests are, in fact, able to enter the habitat. We did not do that here. I figured, again, our previous habitat or previous enclosure was a walkthrough one, so let's switch it up just to make it a little different, right? Size, on average, males are 20.8 inches, as are the females. Life expectancy is 14 years on average across the board as well, and weight is, across the board, 8.8 pounds on average as well. Sexual maturity is at 2 years. Sterility is at death. Number of offspring per mating event is 1 to 3, gestation of 2 months, interbirth of 12, and reproduction in captivity is average. All right, so if all goes well, we're almost pretty much guaranteed to see some baby otters, either in this session itself or perhaps the next session, depending on how things play out. Social needs. The Asian small-clawed otters are very social and intelligent animals, living in family groups of around 15 members. These groups are led by a dominant mated pair and their offspring across various litters. Family groups break apart if they become too large or one of the leaders dies. In this case, family members will leave and attempt to form new breeding groups with other unrelated individuals. Well, that's interesting. So, hold on. So, it's a dominant mated pair. Is it okay? So, or okay, it straight up says one of the leaders dies. That's very interesting. So, it's not necessarily matriarchal or patriarchal. If the the mother or father of the entire family dies, then the entire family just kind of like skitters away and looks for a new mate. That's interesting. Okay, I'm wondering how that. I would love to see how that influences population booms, and what's the opposite of a boom? Because like, yeah, if you have a full family of, let's say, 15 members, and then one of them passes away. So first of all, does the other leader, former leader now, I guess, also go out and seek a new mate? Or is that kind of just like, well, I'm monogamous and I don't believe in remarriage? Like, how does that work, right? So that's one thing. But separately, it's like when the leader dies, you have potentially 16, so you take away 2. Let's say you have 14 otters going out and starting new families. Like, how does that affect... Yeah, like just population booming and stuff. Pretty interesting. Reproduction. When the dominant female of a group is an estrus, she and the dominant male spend bonding time playing and nuzzling. That's adorable. The pair mates several times over the female's fertile period, where copulation can be initiated by either the male or female and lasts between 5 to 25 minutes. Pregnancies in Asian small-clawed otters last for a period of 68 to 74 days, after which the female gives birth to a litter of between 1 and 6 pups, with an average litter size of 2. The pups are born blind and open their eyes after 1 to 1.5 months after birth, which is also when they will begin moving around independently. They will usually leave the den and have their first swim at around 2 months old. Okay, pretty quick. Like very shortly after they open their eyes. Weaning begins at 4 months old, though pups may already begin consuming solid food 1 to 2 months prior, and is usually complete by 8 months old. Asian small-clawed otters reach sexual maturity at 1.5 to 2 years old, but remain with a family group without breeding. Instead, older pups help raising their siblings. New families are formed with unrelated individuals when existing family groups split up due to size or death of one of the leaders. You know, one thing that I will say is quite fascinating to me, and this isn't the first case of seeing this. It's not the first example of it by far, but I guess I would say I've become... it's been quite intriguing how common it is to read that progeny aren't immediately looking to have children of their own. Like, it's again, this is one of those, like, I guess, myths that you're taught growing up in school. You're taught that they're like the core driving forces, basic instincts of animals, and one of those is propagation of the species, right? It's like, yeah, right, they try to have children to multiply, to sustain the species and make sure it survives through generation to generation to generation. And it's taught in this way, at least, through my years in like middle school, I would say primarily, it was taught in this way. It's like, yeah, this is what animals do. Animals eat, they copulate, they sleep. Like that's like their focus. And it's taught in such like a blanket statement kind of a way that this kind of nuance, I feel like, isn't stressed. There are so many examples of animals that choose not to breed, instead helping, raise others young. And it's just interesting to me because it's one of those things, like koala bears, or if you follow the channel, then you'll know my rant about dot product versus cross product in mathematics. It's just one of those things that we're like taught in this very generic and untrue way that makes you think a certain way growing up, and then you're finally presented with evidence to the contrary. And if you're the type of person that changes their mind when presented with evidence to the contrary, you realize, wow, it goes much deeper than what I was taught in school. And it's just interesting to me. It's like, why do we generalize? And I understand that at the end of the day, even the animals that aren't breeding are helping propagate the species because they're helping raise the young, not just in the case of the small-clawed otter, but in the case of other animals as well. We see that quite a bit. But it's just not, it is different, I think, from what is implied in education. And maybe that's on me. Maybe that's my fault for misinterpreting how things were taught. I've since now, I just want to be clear, this isn't the moment that I learned that animals aren't like that. I learned that a long time ago, but just reading this paragraph and reading paragraph upon paragraph in Zoopedia has made me realize, or it's kind of like taken it to a boiling point, you could say, and it's brought this rant on where I'm just like, this is just another one of those things that we're misled about, in school and stuff. And unless you're personally invested or interested, you'd never like learn any different unless one of your friends told you, and you might be like, oh yeah, sure, okay, whatever. It's one of those things that just takes me by surprise because we make it sound so base. There's no other way to put it. We make it sound so very base, and I think that almost like takes away from some of the beauty. I mean, I mentioned, sorry, I'm going I'm sidetracked here. So I apologize. Give you like one more minute, folks. But I mentioned this subreddit often called Just Like Us. And it's about animals that exhibit behaviors that are very similar to human behaviors, right? And I find it fascinating because it's so easy to forget like just how similar we can be to all animals, not just apes, because those are of course the most obvious point of comparison. But we often forget how similar we can be to countless other animals of all kinds. And I feel like that kind of education, that kind of like teaching is what really propagates this like weird opinion or feeling that people have about animals sometimes. I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like, yeah, we make animals seem so, I don't know, like base versus it's just weird to me. Sorry, that's the end of that rant. I could go on for a long time about my thoughts there. I just find it very, 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 very interesting. Let's leave it at that. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well, actually. If you have some thoughts on that, I would love to read how you feel about, and how you were taught, actually, about the basic instinct of animals and their behavior and how it's centered around survival of the species. And I'm just curious. I'm genuinely really quite curious if you have anything to share as far as like how you were taught that in middle school and stuff. I know some of you got that education in like university and stuff. Some of you pursued that in higher learning and all that kind of stuff. And things obviously get a bit more nuanced as we go to post-secondary and post-grad and stuff like that. So I'm curious about earlier on in life, but also just how you feel about it, in your current state, how you feel about the way it's taught and just how we kind of treat that topic. I'd be very curious to read some thoughts on that. But anyway, sorry, moving on. Research status. Let's take a look at some of these fun facts and all. There are no new toys. I will say something that caught me by surprise is that the platform floats now work very differently. I don't know if this is older than my session today, but I only saw it today. But if you now go to add these platform floats, they require empty, like they have rules now about how much space around them needs to be water, and deep water too, not just like shallow water. So it's they've changed that, and that made it impossible for me to add one over here after the fact, because it's like I'm not the biggest fan of it, I'll be honest, because it's a little bit more restrictive than I'd like. It'd be cool. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I like the idea behind it. I think it's too strict. So I like that it tells you, hey, you don't have enough room for animals to interact with it. So fix that, because that's great. Because otherwise, it sucks when you put something down, animals aren't interacting with it, and you're like, what's going on? Am I just missing it, or are they just like, what's the problem here? So I think the tool is great. However, I wish it wouldn't need all of the four red spokes, let's call them, to be blue for it to work. That's what it seems like. Because if I put this guy down over, well, let's just for showcase's sake, if I put this guy down over here, you'll see that two of those are blue, two of them are red, and it says it's not going to work, right? Versus if I put it smack in the middle here, it'll say it's usable. So that tells me that it needs to have all four of those spokes be blue before it can be used. And to me, that's a little much. It'd be much nicer if it was just, yeah, as long as one spoke is blue, animals will be able to approach it from that angle. And yes, it's not optimal, but you can still, it's still usable. I would prefer that, because I like the tool. I like how it assists the player and it communicates to the player, but I do just wish that it was a bit more flexible. Anyway, apart from that being a change to older stuff, there's nothing new over here. It's all stuff we've seen before, some of it which has been added to the enclosure as well. Fun fact number 1. Asian small-clawed otters are monogamous and oh no, I was gonna say it's like I wonder if these fun facts will be closer to the crane or closer to the platypus, and so far, not impressed. Asian small-clawed otters are monogamous and mate for life. I mean, come on, it's right here. Come on. Fun fact number 2, the Asian small-clawed otter can close its ears and nostrils when swimming. Okay, a bit better. That's interesting. Fun fact number 3, despite living in groups, Asian small-clawed otters generally hunt for themselves. Also interesting. So their communal living only goes so far. And that's kind of cute. That actually ties in nicely to our story from earlier, like during the time lapse. So that's cool. Fun fact number 4, the Asian small-clawed otter is extremely dexterous in comparison to other otter species, due to short claws and incomplete webbing between its toes. How does that... Oh, okay, it was... Oh, good use of the word dexterous there. I guess they're being quite... We often generally use dexterity in a much broader sense. Maybe I'm just saying that because I play a lot of tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, GURPS, all that kind of stuff. So dexterous has become a much broader meaning term, but if I recall correctly, dexterous is supposed to be specifically with your digits, with your fingers and toes and stuff like that. Specifically with your fingers, but for animals, toes. And I guess that is why the incomplete webbing makes them a bit more dexterous. And then not having claws probably means they're a bit more, they're able to interact with more things as well. That's a fun fact. That's solid. All right, good stuff. And fun fact number 5, grooming is extremely important for Asian small-clawed otters as it traps air between the hair follicles. Sorry, I thought there was a typo there. Air follicles, keeping otters insulated and dry while swimming. Okay, that is cool. All right, you know what? A decent set of fun facts. That first one really got us off on the wrong foot because it was literally just a retread of the previous page. But the rest are solid, especially these last two. Good stuff. Interspecies enrichment, there are a lot of options. The binturong, which is another DLC animal. So the binturong, the proboscis monkey, the Malayan tapir. Oh no. Now I've got the wrong pronunciation in my head. The Malayan tapir, the binturong, and the proboscis monkey are all DLC animals. The orangutan and the Indian rhino are base game animals. So that's your spread there. By the way, fun fact, Toronto Zoo recently had a new orangutan baby, which is great news. It's healthy, it's happy, it looks adorable. I wish I could go to the zoo to check it out. But yeah, Toronto Zoo has a new baby orangutan. There are videos of it online if you are curious, but just thought I'd share. That's when I saw that. Over to the market now. Go ahead and adopt you right away. Got that gold star. Go ahead and grab you as well. I mean, I guess I could get all 4 of them, right? There's no reason not to. Let's go with 2, though. Just because it goes nicely with our story, we'll go with just these 2. Over to here, over to manage, and let's go ahead and scoop you 2 up. And I almost clicked release to wild. Move you into no path to destination. How does that make any sense? Oh, right. That's how. I didn't actually connect this. I remember thinking about it during the time lapse as well. I was like, oh, I gotta remember to connect this this path, but oops. All right, that's fine. It's not the biggest deal. Go ahead and get you manage. Pick you up. Get you in here. Perfect. And I guess we'll find out if they like the space and if they're able to escape and stuff like that. I think we'll be okay, but you never be too sure. I think I want to add some more of these effects. I wish they were easier to select. Actually, hang on. No. I was gonna say, I wish the selection tool had like filters or something, and maybe I'm forgetting. Maybe it does. I don't think so. But like, if you could just have like a checkbox of like, select only special effects objects, and then when you draw a box, you only get the special effects objects. That would be a useful tool. That would be a useful tool. Do that. So it looks like it's like, no, it's not working. Oh, come on! I gotta copy it again. Yeah, it would just save a lot of time, I think. Nope. Go. You over here. I want to get the angle right so it feels like it's like just hitting the rock and getting a little bit of foam, going in the right direction. Just adds a bit of movement, and I think it really helps these large bodies of water come to life. Like, even just that, you know, it's not a lot, but I think it makes a decent difference in making a space feel alive. And then, no, I don't think we need any more. It's just something. Alright. Thought I heard one arriving. There we go. Tiny, buddy, aren't you? And you even get in there, actually, because we've got some trees right over here. You can, unfortunately, you can also escape. Alright, I should have seen that coming. I kind of did see that coming. Okay, so you can get up over here, which is not ideal. Is that the only spot you can get up? Up over here as well, maybe? Alright, go ahead and fix that real quick. We should just be able to raise these guys up a little bit, and I think that'll do the trick. Guys, up a little bit. Because I think what's happening is they're able to get into the water and then pop right back out. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? There we go. Already exploring. Good stuff. I do believe we need to raise something up over here as well. Let's check real quick first. Recalculate. Yep, still able to get out. So, okay, this is no longer connected, so that's good. But I believe, yeah, we have this over here. Oh, I see what's going on. Pull you out already. Whoops. That's snapping. There we go. Drop you down over here and just pop you down like that. They might be able to climb up that. Let's go ahead and check. Where'd you go? Oh. And let's check. Still? Really? Oh yeah, okay. There's another spot over here. Fair enough, not a problem. I knew these would oops. I knew these would cause some trouble, so I was ready for that. Not too like bummed or anything about it. Let's do that. And let's check. Where'd you go? You are. Update and good stuff. There we go. I believe they are now safely, yeah, locked in, so to speak. I was looking for a better word, but that's all I got. They're not the happiest with the train. They need more short grass, too much long grass. Okay, that's good because I feel that way as well. Go ahead and get the short grass. And then soil. They want some more soil. Okay, I can definitely work with that. Why is this guy running in like that? Is there a vet issue or something? Yeah, looks like one of them must have been diseased or something. Alright, so that's enough of that. I could get some soil. I'd rather this be short grass. Gotta figure out where all this long grass is. A lot of this was rock, which I liked, because it like transitioned into the stone a bit more nicely. And they're fine with that too. Let's do that, let's do that. Oh, you know what? I think I know where the last of the all grass is. Up over here, yeah. Quite a bit of it. Quite a bit of it up over here, in fact. Go. There we go. There's a bit more somewhere. Up over here. Away with you. Away with you. There we go. So that's good. We just need a bit more soil now. Why don't we go ahead and get soil up there. Get some soil down over here. You know, it's like the water rises and this is a bit more soil than it is grass as a result. Oh, we need a fair bit more soil, eh? Alright, fair enough. Got more over here. It's like barely making a difference. So it's 16%. I saw it like nudge up a bit. Here's some more tall grass. Swap that out for short grass. Actually, you know what? It's right at the edge. Let's make that light soil here. There we go. A little bit of erosion and stuff, perhaps. There we go. Perfect. How do I feel about the vegetation? Feeling pretty good. A couple of the beech trees are, yeah, shared. And it's the biome is the problem. They're Asian trees, but the biome is a little different. But they're not too fussed about it. Adult population 1, well, that's because the other one got taken away for medical purposes, I assume. Hopefully once they're back, we'll be a lot happier. Go ahead and check these guys out. It's so tiny. Very cute. Oh my goodness. Oh, of course. Thank you. Thank you for the gift you leave me. Here I am talking about how cute you are. Oh, they are so cute, though. Just absolutely adorable. It's almost like it's a pup already. Doesn't even look like an adult. But yeah, overall I'm very pleased with the space as well. I've started to like... I always feel like I don't know how much I will have covered during the time lapse or not. But I feel like I might have skipped over this little detail, but the lotus is a very common Buddhist symbol. And what's quite interesting is that, and if memory serves me right, but in Tibet, where some of the references from today's story come from, but in Tibet, because lotuses are not native, a lot of the lotus imagery, or I guess all the lotus imagery, is what's the word I'm looking for? Like iconographic. It's symbolic. It's not very realistic. Pictographic, I suppose. There's a word, and it's escaping me right now. But I just thought that was interesting. But the lotus is an important symbol for the faith and for the cultures it touches. It's just interesting that, again, part of our story today, the balance aspect of it at least touches on Tibetan Buddhism, and I just thought that was a little fun fact about the lotus symbology in Tibet. Now, that's not to say that other parts of the world don't use that same iconography and the same visual language as well, but it's always interesting to see where something originated from, or where something's modern appearance originated from, I suppose. Because a lot of the time it's like, oh, well, this is a symbol that's existed for since the Stone Age. And yes, perhaps, but if something is traceable to a more modern history, I suppose, it's interesting to see, you know, the rise and fall of imagery, when it comes, when it goes, and when it comes back, and where it comes back from. You are absolutely adorable. Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. On the topic of adorable, by the way. Oh, here we go again. Oh. This makes me so happy. Oh my god, that might be my favorite animation from this DLC. I was gonna say, on the topic of adorable, by the way, folks, if you don't already follow me on Twitter, if you don't have a Twitter, perhaps, you might be interested in checking out one of my tweets from this past weekend. The household queen, our pet rabbit Elizabeth. Well, there's a picture of there's a picture of her looking like a Hershey's Kiss, and I can't get over it. Anyway, on the topic of adorable things, let's actually, on that topic, see if these cranes have given us any children. Do we have any baby cranes? Oh, we do. It's right there. Look at that. Adorable. Very gold. It either looks kind of golden or like a turkey, but like about to go in the oven turkey. You know, if you, I'm sure I'm not the only one who sees it, right? Hey, guests are actually coming here as well. That's nice. I was a little concerned that guests aren't going to be exploring these spaces. I'm really quite pleased with this space, and I want to just say thank you really quickly for all your kind words in the comments of the previous episode. Quite a few of you called the space, you know, beautiful and enjoyed it, and that's really nice to just read and see. It's a little confidence boost. Because again, I quite like the space myself, and it's cool to see and hear other folks' thoughts and opinions, and you know, use that to improve my own approach and skills. Very cute. Sadly, not as cute as the adult small clawed otters. I just got to be honest, right? Oh, he looks so grumpy. And into the water we go. What are you working on, buddy? What are you exploring? I will say, I do very much miss going to the zoo. It's one of those things that, like, I didn't do often enough. You know, it's like, it's always there. You think you can always go whenever you feel like it. Wow, here we go again. Oh my goodness. And then and then you're not able to go anymore, and you go, oh, I wish I'd gone more when I was able to go. But hopefully soon, hopefully soon. I miss the zoo. It's just watching the animals. Yes, I'm glad Planet Zoo acts as a bit of a substitute there. This is a really cool spot, actually. Just seeing the space off in the distance there as well. This might be the thumbnail. Normally, I try to include a bit of the enclosure as well in the thumbnail, so you have a bit of an idea of what's coming. But I mean, that close up of the otter is hard to say no to. Look at this guy. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of this space, actually. I'm quite pleased with it. I like some of the imagery and symbolism and stuff going on. I like the idea of sitting over here underneath the bodhi tree, as it were, and finding your own inner peace, perhaps. What is it? Attaining moksha? Nice mountain in the background. Like, this is, like, you know, I'm very happy with this space. I'm really happy with everything we've got out of this DLC so far. And I hope y'all feel the same way as well. I'm really pleased with the with some of these spaces. Nice. Sometimes, you know, you come back from a break and you get rejuvenated. Start exploring new concepts or old concepts with fresh eyes. It's some good stuff. So noisy. All right. I'm sure next session, folks, we'll be seeing some baby otters. But this session, I fear, must come to a close over here. We'll be adding some more animals, of course, next session. I'm looking to the comments to see which ones you might be interested in. Otherwise, I'll pick for myself based on, again, stories I can come across, or ideas I might have, or, you know, regions we might want to explore. Again, as you heard me kind of talk about in today's session, there's a few aspects that I weigh when deciding what to do next. For example, I didn't want to do a Japan story because we just done a Japan story. I didn't want to do a walkthrough enclosure because we just done a walkthrough enclosure. So there's a lot of little pieces that influence my decision-making process. Also, of course, what stories I can actually come up with and what I have in mind and what I feel particularly inspired by. But like I said earlier, the comments are also a source of inspiration and just direction at times for me to just see what y'all might be interested in seeing sooner rather than later. So feel free to let me know down below, folks, as well. Of course, if you have been enjoying the content of this DLC, if you would like to pick it up for yourself, or if you'd like to pick Planet Zoo, the entire game, up for yourself, if you use the link in the description down below, you can pick it up there and support the channel as you do. Again, of course, no obligation or pressure or anything like that, but if you would like to support the channel while grabbing something for yourself, that is a great way to do it, and enjoy it for yourself. Folks, this is where we're calling it a session. I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, I certainly did, and I am really looking forward to reading your thoughts down below on not just the enclosure and the animals, but also the little rant I had about, you know, how we're taught about animal instincts and stuff like that. But folks, as always, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big ol' thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.